Hola, bom dia. Carl here with the English language update for the situation in Portugal with the COVID-19 coronavirus situation, and beginning to offer a platform for people to reach out, speak out from their part of Portugal. So if you do want to come on here and talk with me about what's going on in your part of Portugal, in terms of the number of cases, for example, or even to make an appeal of some kind for where you are in Portugal, then please do that. It's very easy. I can just send you a link and you can join me on screen. And this will be on our YouTube channel as well and our podcast too, in our efforts to keep people updated and connected and supported in this time. What we normally do is begin with a share of the numbers, the current numbers, and I almost feel a bit kind of it's a kind of morbid thing, isn't it, looking at this? But I do share it in the spirit of keeping people updated about how the development is, so that we know what's going on, rather than just to upset or basically freak anybody out. But I think knowing what's going on is quite useful. And I endeavour to do this just to update people in the morning, 9 o'clock on or thereabouts on the weekdays, and we do some other kind of coverage or information sharing at the weekend. But I'm sure this will evolve, and do let me know how it can be a useful service to you as an English speaker or as part of the English speaking community in Portugal as we face this situation. As you can see there now, the total number of deaths is 23. 14 people have recovered mercifully, and the number of confirmed cases is now over 2,060. Interestingly, to see where the growth is, the largest number of cases is in the north. Now, what I'm going to do is going to go to a new and useful source I found. This is a gent called Craig, who I discovered in the Porto expats group. And he's been very helpful with what he's sharing with everybody. And as you can see, yeah, Craig Morfitt, you'll be able to find it's a public group. So I'm sharing this in the spirit of you'd be able to find it anyway in Porto expats. And if there are other sources that you think I should know about, then do let me know, and I'll share them here as a focal point. But certainly Safe Communities Portugal, checking in with the papers, the Portugal News, the Portugal Resident / Algarve Resident are useful. And then here we have Craig Morfitt, who actually very responsibly prefaces his update with, I'm not a health expert, I don't work in the medical field, whilst I occasionally add my own interpretation of how things are going. The data is not mine. Each day I report the official statistics as provided by the government's Director General of Health, the DGS there. The snippets of news that I report from legitimate online news sites, the aim of my daily updates is to provide an overview of the COVID-19 situation in Portugal for the benefit of my friends and family. I pull the information from different sources and put it in a single post so that it's easy to access. No medical expertise is required to perform this function. That's a very responsible preface there, I think, from Craig, and a really nice service that he's offering here. And I'm guessing that it shows up in Porto expats, certainly. Craig Morfitt is the man, and this is his update from yesterday. And as I said, there are 2,060 confirmed cases. I suppose what we're looking at is the increase, isn't it? That's the youthful maths. The increase of 460 cases in the past day is what that figure contains, showing a daily growth rate of one. I don't understand that bit, but 28.75% of yesterday's total. So I suppose the daily growth rate generally, 1.2875. And as I was saying about in the north, 182 of the new cases were in the northern Porto region. That is the hotspot currently. Another 9 patients have died, bringing the total death toll to 23. That was in his 23rd of March update over the last 24 hours. The number of infected persons requiring hospitalization increased to 201, of which 47 are in intensive care. The rate of testing seems to be increasing. The number of suspected cases is now 13,674, excuse me, an increase of 1,895 new tests since the day before. That would have been the 22nd. Accordingly, there are 1,402 people awaiting the results of their tests, up from 1,152 the day before, the 22nd. Interestingly, he points out that 7 people have been arrested for breaching conditions of the state of emergency. And you can see that story if you go to the portugalnews.com. So the police are taking this seriously. which is a good thing. And we can see certainly in the likes of the UK, lockdown is now being taken seriously. And that's the message I think that's percolating around the world, that we need to stay at home, stay the F at home, as some people are saying. It's that serious. And if that's all in vain, it would still be the right thing to do, I think. If we do that for the sake of others, if there was no need to do it, we would have still have done it, if you see what I mean. If we don't do it, goodness only knows what the contagion effect would be. So that is the growing consensus. And I know I'm preaching to the converted, I'm sure, for many people who might be tuning into this, but stay at home and physically isolate, self-isolate, physically distance, remain social, I think is important, but virtually, okay, like we're doing here. So yes, the police there are taking it seriously. People have been arrested in Portugal for disobedience. And as I said to you yesterday, the government has taken steps to ensure, this is very reassuring, that essential services continue throughout the country, including the essential services, the utilities, as well as waste collection and transportation. As part of the guarantee of essential services, the government is allowing taxis and Uber drivers to continue to operate, but has implemented new controls to protect the driver and passengers and to limit when each vehicle can be used, which is, I guess, useful. I heard somebody on a UK radio station saying that they were using black cabs because of the screen in front between them and the driver. That is, I suppose, is a good thing. But what he forgot to mention, I suppose, is that you're getting into the back of the cab where lots of other people have been. So it just keeps pointing back, I think, to the fact that it's best to stay at home, unless you can't, of course, and then you have to find the best way. But yeah, then it's all about the disinfection, washing your hands, and decontaminating yourself after each trip out. And Craig concludes here, for those who like to dig a little bit deeper, have a deeper dive, as it were, into some of the background information, a Vox.com article. This is by Kelsey Piper and Christina Animachouin, that is featured on the Vox website. Whilst the article primarily focuses on a comparison of the situations in the US and Italy, its message is relevant to other countries. As the author points out, the lesson from Italy isn't just that you have to act before your hospitals are overwhelmed, which I think we're beginning to understand now. It's that you have to take steps that appear in the moment to be exceptional overreaction, because by the time it looks like the steps you're taking are appropriate, it will have been too late. That said it much better than I was trying to say it a little while ago. And so, yes, if you're in a position of influencing people at the moment, and that's, I think, part of what's going on at the moment, isn't it? That there are calls to name and shame people who are panic buying, who are going out, and all these sorts of things. I don't think that's very helpful. It may have to happen, obviously, at some point, and those people may be arrested or enforced by the authorities. But the important thing, I think, to do at the moment is to stay and appeal to people's kindness and reason for as long as we possibly can, and influence them to stay indoors, and just give them the information to gently persuade them to do that, to see that that is the best thing to do. So I will be here for a little bit longer if people want to say hello from where they are, say what's going on where they are, if they have any appeals for help or connections that need to be made. I know there was a situation that's probably the most urgent situation for English speakers are those people who are in campsites at the moment in Portugal, who don't really know what to do. And I know that there is leave to travel out of the country for some people who are able and can afford to do it, and so on. There are others who are reluctant to do that, and I can understand why. And they may be finding themselves in a difficult position of being in a campsite or temporary accommodation of that kind that needs to be cleared and shut down, and they may not have anywhere to go. So there may be a need there, just anticipating that need about how we support and help those people. And I know there have been outbreaks of goodness and kindness around that. You know, it takes a lot, doesn't it, to welcome someone into your site from another at this moment. And to obviously make sure that they go into their isolation should they do that. But I've seen some very, really heartwarming efforts to help people, because they've got to be helped. There are people facing that situation of being evicted from campsites, and that is quite a number of people, I suspect. Forgive me, I am speculating now. I'm just wanting to highlight that as a possible issue of how we approach that as a collective, and how we support our fellow expats, immigrants and explorers here in Portugal at the moment. So I may well curtail this update at the moment, just to stay with you for a few more minutes to make the invitation really clear that it's very easy to join me on this stream via a link that I share with you, and you can come on and tell me about what's going on in your part of Portugal. I anticipate that this will become much more appropriate, useful, vital even in time to come, where people, where we do need to keep our spirits up, and we do need to connect and communicate across a very noisy and possibly panicky atmosphere. So I'm going to do my best to make this an informative. We begin with an informative service about what's going on, any changes to the law and culture that you need to know about. Excuse me. It's always a worry when anyone coughs now, isn't it? So I'll do my best to make this start at 9 o'clock with something informative and useful, and any really key and important changes you need to know about, and then stay open to create a platform for people to talk across the country about anything that they're facing, anything that they feel others should know about, and any requests for support and help, and great things, upbeat and positive things to share as well. We need that, and please do that as well in the Stay Positive Portugal group that goes with Good Morning Portugal. So yes, as I say, we'll be doing this every morning, every weekday morning, certainly at 9 o'clock or thereabouts. This is made into then a YouTube clip, which you can share with people if you think it's useful to them. And it's also a podcast for those people who prefer to listen to it as an audio service rather than the full-on video. So I wish you a good day. Take care, and bye for now.